it's something that I never thought I'd be able to do, but now that I've done it, it's starting to become easier as I go because I'm more familiar with it, and I'm really happy that I put my mind to it and started it instead of just waiting, because I feel like that's some really good advice as well. Like, you have to jump into it instead of just waiting for forever because you're scared of what might happen.
And here we are with another podcast, the En Route to Discovery podcast. We're joined by a very special guest today. I get to introduce my father, Harold Daigle, who's been one of my mentors and one of the best business people that I could learn from over the years, and kind of planted the seed of entrepreneurship in me at a young age. And as you all know, as listeners to our podcast, I have my very special co-host here. You want to say hello, Mia?
Hi, everybody. My name is Mia, and I'm 13 years old, and I'm really happy to be here.
All right. And rather than getting a big, long bio and talking and everything else, my father is joining us today. You may hear him referred to as Harold. It might be Dad. It might be Poppy in the case of Mia. But it is a special guest for us because we love him, and I've learned so much for a long time. So, Dad, I know Mia's going to get into some of these questions in a minute, but just for our viewers and people that are listening, where are you calling in from today? We're here in beautiful Arizona, and where are you joining us? And tell us a little bit about your background as an entrepreneur. We won't go into too much detail because we're going to ask some questions about that, but just tell me how long you've been an entrepreneur, maybe a couple of the businesses that you've owned over the years, but introduce yourself, Dad.
Okay, I'm speaking to you from Glace Bay in Nova Scotia. A beautiful -4 degrees here and light snow and high winds. Lovely day.
A little different weather than what we have here in Arizona, but tell us a little bit about. We don't have to give away your age, but you've been an entrepreneur for a long time.
I'm giving away my age. I'm 75 years old and very comfortable.
Good.
Um, I was kind of pushed into entrepreneurship. I didn't realize that's what I was doing when I was younger. I come from a big family, and we lost our dad very young, so we had a scramble to make a few dollars here and there, and that was the beginning of my entrepreneurship. I found out the person to depend on the best was myself. So we came up with different little jobs or your own business. In the beginning, it was simple little things. We gathered customers and we shoveled paths, or we sold coal or wood. And then I realized if I put a few cents aside, I was better off than my friends in the neighborhood who had parents who were living on allowances. I was doing little jobs and making more money. So it piqued my interest right away that if you put enough work in, you can own your own business. So I guess I'd say that was my start in life, selling coal and shoveling walks, but with steady customers. The difference being steady customers, we had lots of other children in our neighborhood. When I was younger, families were large, so we had a lot of competition. So we had to do a few things to make our business for the customer to want us back. We had to do a better job. We had to be there earlier on time. And of course, our rates had to be decent. But in the end of it, 2 or 3 of my brothers and myself, we had the largest customer base in snow removal and things like that in our neighborhood. So I guess you could say that was the beginning. And from then on, anything I turned my hand to, I just wanted to be a little better than everybody else, not for the money, but just to prove to myself that I had the ability to do this. And I loved the challenge. And I think, Jimmy, you and your 2 sisters growing up realized that, because you guys had no trouble facing challenges and seemed to thrive on them.
Yeah, thanks. So many things I could unpack there. But one of the big things that you said was that believing in yourself. And I think you instilled that into us at a young age. And I think for young entrepreneurs out there, that's the key, is being able to believe in yourself. But something that Mia probably doesn't know much about, and definitely some of our audience doesn't know anything about, you were saying selling coal. So talk about that a little bit, what Glace Bay is, where Glace Bay is, and give us a little background of the Glace Bay history, and would love to hear about that. And Mia will learn a little bit too, I'm sure.
Okay, Glace Bay, when I mentioned coal, we have a little area just outside of our town. We refer to it as Port Morion. It's about 6 kilometers from here. It was the very first coal mine in North America. So coal on the island of Cape Breton was always a big deal. It was only maybe 25 years ago that we closed the last pit. And now, about 5 years ago, an American company came and opened another coal mine. The big deal about it, our coal mines are under the ocean. They go out about 7 miles. But it's some of the best coal in the world. It's called metallurgic coal. It burned really, really hot. And you need that type of coal to make iron and steel. So even though they're phasing coal mines out right around North America, this coal is still very, very high demand. So that's basically where it came from. So it is a coal mining town. But what happens is when they used to, not anymore, but when they used to take this old slag, they call it, at the pit, that was mixed with coal and rock, it was too big a job back then to separate it. So they dumped it over the bank near the ocean here. But its children, our neighbors and myself and the children, they would take us up there about 4:30 in the morning, and we would pick what we call brin bags full of coal. A brin bag would hold about 50 pounds of coal. So we tried to pick 3 or 4 bags by about 7 o'clock. Then our neighbor, who had a truck, he would come pick us up and drive us to the local wash house where the miners wash, 26 colliery. The kids, us, we'd all get our showers and get ready to go to school. And he'd drive us home and we'd drop these bags of coal off. And after school, we had our little carts or wagons, and we would throw the bag of coal in and take it to a customer. You might get 30 or 40 cents a bag. But back in 1955 and 56, that was a lot of money back then. It was probably to about $12 now, so
Amazing.
difference. But that was just one of the things. But the secret to all the business, as Jimmy alluded to you earlier, you have to believe in yourself. But you got to remember, if you want to be a success, 100% success, you got to put 100% of your time in it. If you want to be 50% success, just put half your time in it. But if you want it to work, you got to live it. And we lived it. When we were awake in the morning, we were gone. We were out of school, we were selling. We were gone from sunup to sundown. But that was expected of us. And the majority of us, when I'm talking about my family, we enjoyed it. It was a competition. One brother would say, well, I got 4 bags, and another one would get 3 bags, and we'd torment each other. Or we'd make little side bets. If I make an extra bag, then you got to split it with me and that type of thing. And it made it so much more fun. But it was, indirectly, we were entrepreneurship. We were making our own living. And like all entrepreneurs, you have to realize there's a risk. So putting the risk in there, what did I give up to go pick coal? Did I spend enough time with the homework and the books and with my friends and playing sports? I had to give a lot of that up. But that's the way you become a success in business. You can't be all things to all people. You pick your destination and chase it. And if you believe in it, you'll make it work.
Wow, that couldn't be more true. I have a question for you. Over the course of your life, you have had so many different businesses in a variety of fields. Do you have a favorite one that stands out? And if so, what made it your favorite?
This would be me. My favorite was being your grandfather. And that's my favorite business.
That's an important one too. You're very good at it.
You know that. Anyway, no, me, actually, I didn't. I enjoyed every one. And a lot of people will say to me, you had a lot of businesses, Harold. Would you consider them successes or failures? Because I didn't chase money, I chased an idea that I wanted to accomplish, and I considered them all. And if I didn't like it, I wouldn't have been in it. So every single one I did, I gotta say, I enjoyed them all. And the harder it was to figure out, and the more research I had to do, that made it more fun. When I was able to accomplish them really quickly, that was disappointing to me. So the
I,
harder it was and the more I succeeded, that's what made the difference. So which one was the greatest one? Uh, I couldn't honestly say. They were all fun and I considered them all successes. A lot of problem we had back then, Mia, we had no communication. So it took so much longer to accomplish anything. Jimmy will know one when I used to have on the internet. We used to do repairs, and the name of the company was Mr. Ince. But the problem was to download a video, it came in strips. It didn't come across like today, this beautiful, what you have. So our communication was very, very poor. Today, your communication is just totally the opposite because you're not sure of the information you're getting, where it's going, where it's coming from, and how it's being split. So today we have, this might sound silly, almost too much communication because it's so wide open and so many people can interfere with your ideas. So it's a came full circle, but I absolutely loved them. I loved every one of them. And you can't believe how proud I am of you trying this.
well, I got to say, I was talking to somebody earlier in the week, and they said the same thing. It's not always about the money or anything. It's celebrating those small wins, and with every one of those businesses, and I know this myself, every one, you learn a little bit more each time, and it makes it a little bit easier the next time. But then sometimes you get knocked down, and you got to get back up. And I think I learned that from you. But hearing that answer sounds like that's what you did: is you celebrate the small wins and there's a thing that they say is called fail forward, and I think that's true for every entrepreneur. So I hope that answers your question, Mia. Does it?
Yes, it does.
Does it spark any follow up questions? You got any other question about his favorite businesses or anything, or maybe him to name one or two? Because you probably don't know many businesses that he's had. He's had a bunch. I could talk about carpet stores and retail stores and everything else, but maybe you can ask him.
Okay, so my dad often says things like success often comes with sacrifice. So what have been some of the biggest challenges you faced while starting or growing your companies, and how does that relate to some of the sacrifices that entrepreneurs have to take?
Well, the biggest thing, it's what type of business you're going to, how foreign it is to you. What I mean there, how much do you really know about it? You might have a great interest in, you might be able to go and read a lot on it, but then how do you convince somebody else, to help you get it started and loans you the money? So that's probably one of the biggest challenges. You had the belief, you say, I love this business, I'd love to do this. But then when you go to get the money from a bank or investors, the first thing they're going to know is how can you make a success if you've never done it before? So the research and building the confidence in yourself to be able to take that confidence and portray it to the person that you're borrowing the money for or you're having an investment with it, you have to convince them that you know what you're talking about. So the research and to sell yourself first so you can sell the business. Don't go and sit down and say, I got this great idea and they'll say, well, what do you know about it? Nothing. Well, then that's all it is, a great idea. Leave me alone. But if you can put some facts behind it, so the more research you do and the more you start to believe in it, then it'll be able to get somebody else to believe in it. I hope that helps, huh?
Yes, it very much does. Thank you.
Yeah, totally. That is a challenge. Is you know, we all pitch businesses in different ways, whether you're selling your business, selling an item, a product, or maybe pitching to investors. And you know this, Harold and Dad. When I work with startups all the time, that's one of the things that we talk about is be confident, you know your numbers, know your business, be better than the competition. So when you go in, you're the expert in the room. And I think that's what you're referring to. So great advice and great answer for Mia. Mia, anything else? What else are you thinking to ask Poppy here?
Well, since I'm a entrepreneur myself, and I'd love to hear some like new ways and ideas. So what advice do you have for aspiring entrepreneurs?
Now, when you're saying you're an entrepreneur, sweetheart, that's the jewelry and things you make.
Yeah, maybe
Uh,
we could. I'm going to cut you off for 1 sec. I'm sorry because for our listeners, obviously me, you, the three of us here, we know about her business, but give a little backstory there first, Mia, of what type of business that you've started and a little bit about your success. And then Poppy will answer about what advice he might give for aspiring entrepreneurs like yourself who are going to try something new. So tell the audience a little bit about your business.
Okay, so in late April, early May of 2024, I saw a bunch of people my age starting to do something that I really, really thought was really cool. And so I wanted to like try it out. I looked up different ways to try it out. And then I went to the store to get some supplies. And then when I came back, I started right away. Um, it's a jewelry business, and I make like a bunch of different jewelry. So it's like bracelets, necklaces, rings, phone charms, a bunch of different types of jewelry. And I feel like it's something that I never thought I'd be able to do, but now that I've done it, it's starting to become easier as I go because I'm more familiar with it, and I'm really happy that I put my mind to it and started it instead of just waiting, because I feel like that's some really good advice as well. Like, you have to jump into it instead of just waiting for forever because you're scared of what might happen.
That's great advice there. Poppy, anything to follow up on that?
yes, I have to admit, when she first started it, she, of course, we do FaceTime once in a while, and she was showing me the different ones. But then I noticed she was growing her product, and when she got home, she was expanding it more. When I say home, I'm visiting here in Cape Breton. I noticed she was expanding, going to different lines. But the biggest thing I noticed, she got to know her customer base, who she was selling to. She was going to trade shows, but every time a new trailer or a new site that you were going to, she knew who she had to seek out, what customers she was going to go after. Like, she could waste her time selling it to people with no children, grandparents, and like myself, cranky old people. But she knew where to find her customer base, and she knew how to please them, and she knew what they wanted. That was really impressive to me, the way she spent as much time learning her own customer base and knowing what part of her jewelry line was going to sell the best and draw the most attention. And I noticed she start working on that, because all the jewelry won't sell, but some of it, like the bracelets, were going really well, and so on. I thought that was fantastic that she was able to sort that out.
Fantastic. Good, good. So if you were to give some advice, Harold, about for young entrepreneurs like Mia, if you're getting into something new or you got an idea in the back of your head, what would you say to them?
Well, you lucked out, Mia, because you have parents that's going to back you, going to be with you. A lot of children, um, their parents don't understand what it is to be an entrepreneur or have that drive. So they have a little bit of a problem selling their parents. But like I mentioned a little while ago there, I mentioned we have to get to know our product, believe in our product enough to get the bank or investor. As a child or a young person like yourself, You have to believe in your product. You have to research it enough. So when you sell your parents for the backing, just even, not necessarily financial, but the backing to give you the time, give you the space, and to encourage you, that's what I'd say. Know your product really well before you bring it to your parents, if you're having trouble with your parents. Like you said, you have exceptional parents because they believe in entrepreneurship big time.
Fantastic. Great advice. I think that's great. And I always listen, and you know this, Harold, and Mia knows this. I listen to Gary Vee, and he has a lot of run-ins with, for people that don't know Gary Vaynerchuk, he has a lot of run-ins with parents because he wants kids to be able to go out there and, try things. And when you're at a young age, this is the time to take a little risk, because if you fail, you just learn and move forward. So I think for anybody listening, if there's advice that I would give is, give it a shot. One of my favorite quotes, to quote a great Canadian hockey player, is you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So when you're at a young age, take as many shots as you can. Not all of them are going to score the goal, but you're going to learn from every one of them. Mia, anything else? I know that you had a couple other questions that were in the back of your mind. I know with some of Poppy's answers, he probably answered a couple of them. But is there anything in particular that that we want to get to before, because we're losing sunshine here. We got a little late start today, and I don't want to get too dark, but we want to wrap this up soon. Mia, what are you thinking? What other questions for Poppy about business or entrepreneurship?
I actually had this question because sometimes things are very hard to deal with when mistakes happen, because obviously mistakes happen with a bunch of different businesses. But how did you handle conflicts or difficult decisions within your companies?
That's an excellent point. At first, I wasn't very sensible. I, I guess you could say I may have flown off the handle or did very poorly in that. But when you make a mistake or a mistake is made within the company, you have to sit back and see what caused it, the root problem. When you find the root problem, you find out, unfortunately, you probably had as much to do with the mistake as one of your employees. Poor education, poor communication, things like that. So when something goes wrong, like your father said 4 or 5 times during this interview, when you make a mistake, look at that as a learning tool. Now, what went wrong here? And it doesn't need to be a big thing. It can be a little thing, but learn from it, and under no circumstances ever brush it under the rug. Leave your mistakes where you can check on them so you don't do it again, because they're the greatest learning tool in the world. Might sound silly, but as you grow older, you'll have a few different boyfriends. And when you get rid of them, you'll know why, but you'll say, I won't make that mistake again.
That's tying it into you, Mia, but you can wait till you're about 35 before you have to worry about that. So anyway, any other questions here as we get closer to the end or anything, Mia?
I actually have another one. How did you balance the demands of running a business with personal life?
Again, honey, I did the different than the normal entrepreneur. The majority of entrepreneurs, when money is your goal, then that's what it is, your goal. You have to let everything go. If you want to make a ton of money, you have to put 100% of your time. And I could never commit to that. So my goal as an entrepreneur was to be successful, to make sure what I wanted to achieve, I was able to achieve. But it was always part of my plan to keep my life separate from my family life, and I only allowed so much. And that's why I'm not sitting on millions of dollars today, but I have exactly what I wanted to have. I have everything that life has to offer. But what I did, you have to learn early. Do I want tons of money, or do I want 50-50? So knowing if you only want 50-50, you're only going to be 50% successful as compared to your competition, because your competition, they take 100%. They make 100%. But what they have to give up for it, I'm not the type of person that was able to sacrifice that. So it depends on how important it is to you, money or whatever. And if it's all family, well, you'll never make a good entrepreneur. You have to be willing to give up a good percentage of your life. It has to be on that. Well, even if you want to be a doctor or a lawyer, the more time you put in, the better doctor, the better lawyer you're going to be. But you've got to give up a lot of things to do it. A doctor or lawyer is a business. It is entrepreneurship. Well, same idea.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And I have to thank you here publicly and say I'm glad that you didn't go all in on making the money because you were able to spend so much time with us. I had the best hockey rink in town growing up. I had some of the best experiences and memories. And I think that kind of rubbed off on me as a parent and as an entrepreneur because, as you know right now, and for the listeners at home, we're traveling for the past 2.5 years in an RV going across both Canada and the US. And the only reason that I would do this is because my parents instilled the value of spending time with your kids when you're young. So thank you for that one, Harold. I think we're going to wrap it up here. Mia, any final thoughts before we thank Poppy and say goodnight for the evening?
Yes, I actually have one more question, and I hope you don't mind.
Not even a bit.
Do you have any advice for someone listening at home who has an idea and are thinking about starting their own company?
The idea is take your idea and find somebody or somewhere on the net that you can research it inside out. Now, I don't mean go crazy because, like Mia said earlier, sometimes you just have to start, but have some kind of idea and make sure you're 100% comfortable that you can do it. Okay? And you're going to get a lot of naysayers saying, no, you're too young, you can't do that, or no, that's too expensive and all that. Do not go by that. You build the belief, you chase the dream, you will accomplish the dream.
Yes.
That's
great advice. Great advice. Well, I think this is going to come to an end here. Harold, Poppy, Dad, thank you so much. This has been a great day. We got started a little bit late, so we're losing the sunshine. It's getting a little cooler here in the Arizona desert. And Mia, thank you. You were fantastic as always. And that's about it on our end.
Well, I greatly appreciate the idea to be able to speak to you like this because not many grandparents get the chance to talk to their granddaughters in such a wonderful setting. This is fantastic. So thank you, Mia. And of course, thank you, Jimmy.
All right. Thank you. Love you. We'll talk to you again soon. And for the listeners back home, please feel free. If you liked anything, you learned anything here, please feel free to subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. Tell this to your friends. Mia and I are going to do this. And the reason we call it En Route to Discovery is because we're going to discover all kinds of things. We're going to touch on entrepreneurship a great deal. But as many of you know, we are traveling across 2 beautiful countries. And so we're going to discover all kinds of people and things and places. So we'll be talking to you more. And that's a wrap, Mia.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, so much for your time. This was really fun. And thank you, Poppy, for being our guest on here today. And I personally learned a lot. And I hope everybody who's watching this right now did too.
Fantastic. All right. Thanks again.